Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're doing Gaming News Consolidated. This is December 8th through the 14th. I won't be covering the Game Awards because I haven't looked at that yet. I'll be looking at that as you're probably listening to this, and that will be coming into next week. So I want to do it justice, if there's any justice that needs to be there. But what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about some Xbox. We're going to talk about several games like Path of Exile 2 beta, Marvel Rivals, Delta Force beta. We're going to talk too about PlayStation doing something new and extra with their PlayStation VR 2. We're going to talk about Suicide Squad and Rocksteady. We're also going to talk about Steam. Something interesting with them. We're also going to talk about Best Buy doing 12 Days of Christmas. We'll talk about that and some other things too. Man, it's another pretty full week, even outside of the Game Awards. So let's go ahead and get into it. Xbox Cloud saves are now going to be available on Steam. Xbox has had cross saves for a while through their Xbox ecosystem, but yeah, now Indiana Jones and cloud saves are going to be available and accessible across Steam too. So so now if you play it on PC or Steam or you play it on Xbox, you can swap between, which is cool. Xbox also as Xbox puts all of their games on other platforms, it'll be something that'll be player friendly to have your saves accessible across all of these platforms. Because of course, as we know, their big thing has been like play Xbox games or play Game Pass or play your cloud library basically across everything and anything that's out there. And now they're working on getting your saves to be like that too, which is cool. And so, yeah, it's no longer like an Xbox save file. It's just going to be a game file that you'll be able to work between all of your different platforms, which is sweet. Let's talk about Path of the Exile 2. They had their beta, and it's going very, very well. They're at 578,000 people. They've already had well over, so far, 1 million redemption codes just for this beta itself, which people paid a minimum of $30 for, all the way up to $480 if for the biggest DLC pack if you were on PC, about $370 if you're on console, which is crazy. Just for an idea, Diablo 4, the all-time was 55,000, and it's currently at 5,000. So 578,000 just for the beta. Yeah, Path of Exile 2 is going to be huge. It's definitely going to blow up, I'm sure, when it releases. And the devs are already paying attention. They're already listening. They're already changing things to ensure that the things that the players are finding are being addressed, being looked at, and some of the stuff is also even being changed, which is really nice. Marvel Rivals, that released this week, which I am thinking of maybe at least trying that out, but there's a lot of other stuff coming too. This is a free-to-play 5v5, think of like Overwatch 2, and it's launching very, very well. It does have a third-party login for those of you that are curious, but it's got so far 480,000 players on Steam Charts DB with a 75% review score so far. So there are some issues, there are some complaints, but man, if you take the time, you can really make some pretty crazy moves. I'm already seeing some of them come up on YouTube, and boy, they're hilarious. Like killing the other team right at the start of the game. You just walk right into Doctor Strange's portal and just get blipped right off the map. That's just hilarious. There's also plenty of characters to choose from. None of these really feel like DEI, which is great. And all of these are free. And they are going to continue to be. The devs have made it very clear that the characters are not going to be paywalled, just the cosmetics and skins, which is great. The newest mechanic is like team-up abilities. So we haven't really seen this in a lot of other games before, except maybe like Army of Two or something like that. But these both have passive and active benefits in the game for players. So yeah, if you're squatting up with other people or you have other friends that play the game, it's actually really beneficial to actually play with them in your party. So yeah, it's doing great. As of right now, Marvel Rivals has 10 million players in the first 72 hours of launch for a free to play game. But I do want to relay this to X Defiant as well. They had millions and millions at launch. They had up to 15 million unique players on X Defiant, and this didn't save them. X Defiant is still going to go in the trash bin next year. And so Rivals honestly needs to stay good. They need to find a way to keep it fresh. And with starting with so many characters already, I think it's in the 20s, maybe even almost 30 of the amount of characters that you have access to already. And there are a lot of different characters and stuff, of course, in the Marvel Universe. But it's like they need to pace themselves a little bit. Because if they're planning for this to be like a multi-year game that's free to play, or as long as it can be, yeah, they need to pace themselves some, because otherwise they can find themselves maybe basically not having enough, and then people getting bored, nothing new to grind for, nothing new to work toward, and that's not going to be good for them in the long term. So need to be able to have a way to keep it fresh. And we'll see if they can do that. That's one of the most difficult and expensive things to do for a live service game. Let's talk about the Delta Force beta. It launched with 119,000 players. This also has a this also has a third-party login. That 119,000 players is on SteamDB. And this also is a free-to-play model. It's a battlefield experience with basically 5 classes and a variety of operators that have special abilities. That sums it up really well. There's large maps, similar battlefield modes that you can play. There's vehicles, there's gun emplacements, there's multiple ways to kind of work your way along a level. Some of the modes that I played were one team was attacking, one team was defending, and basically you tried to capture a couple of points to move to the next section, capture a couple more before all of your tickets ran out. So that's very reminiscent of something like Frontline or something like that. But overall, like, the gameplay was pretty good. It wasn't super janky. It did run well. I really sucked at the game, but I'm also not used to playing on keyboard and mouse. I've been playing on console for a long time, but I was okay. I could sometimes get a kill before I got taken down by someone else, but I could see players that are used to COD or used to other first-person shooters getting very, very frustrated with the game because, again, it's like you have to be able to actually do the work and get the kills and get the objective and stuff. It's not going to really hold your hand. With a free-to-play model, people can play as much as they want, of course, but I do worry about the sustainability of the game because if they can do what Battlefield used to, I think it can stick around at least for a while, but it's also going to dictate if they can actually make money. I mean, we've seen some of the other live services, of course, that haven't done well over the last several years, and one of the biggest issues is the prices of their microtransactions. Again, they're like $20, $30, $40. I mean, they can get pretty freaking expensive, and it's not like they ever really go on sale or anything. There's usually, of course, multiple currencies, which this will have multiple currencies as well. But the overall experience was pretty good. This is going to release on PC and console, but right now it's just in beta, and as long as you have a Steam account, you can basically hop right in and check it out for yourself. There is also a campaign that you can engage with, which looks at the Black Hawk Down event that happened in the early 2000s, and so you can look into that too if you wish. But yeah, the gunplay feels pretty good. There's different weapons. There's different ways to level up. You can get your attachments for your gun. You can tune things even to a degree for your attachments and for your weapon. There's different operators. I'm sure we'll see different operators as time goes on, as they release more content for the game, more maps, maybe even more modes, event type of stuff, because again, this is a free-to-play game. They need to be able to keep it fresh. But yeah, a free-to-play model, it's a tough sell. It is really a tough sell. I even think of like the first Descendant. It did a pretty good job. It did a great job starting. We're talking like 250,000 players just on Steam. It was doing well on other console platforms as well. But again, it hasn't been able to hold itself up very well. It's lost the majority of its players. Players aren't coming back. it's too grindy, it's too frustrating. The microtransactions are too high, and people are just playing other stuff, like Marvel Rivals, like Path of the Exile. I mean, those are free to play games, and we got other stuff coming down the pipe too that are pretty big for this year. We got Doom coming, Dark Ages. We have GTA 6 probably coming at the end of this year, or maybe even into 26 at this point. We'll have to see. But we're also having Monster Hunter Wilds. So it's like there's a lot of games that are coming that people are excited for. And being in the free-to-play market it's always a good launch. But sticking around, that's tough. And we've gotten to see that with X Defiant. Let's talk about PlayStation. They're now actually working with Apple and Apple's headset, which is like $3,500, I think. It's over $3,000, I can tell you that. But the PSVR 2 controls will now be compatible with the Apple headset. PSVR 2 has been heavily discounted also for Black Friday, or was heavily discounted for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, like $200 off. So instead of $350 or $550, it was $350. But yeah, the launch was basically the 1/10 of expectations. They just didn't sell units. They were hoping to sell like 2 million units at launch in their first maybe month or two, and they sold 200,000. And I think now they've maybe sold only 500,000 units. It's just not going. It hasn't been going very well. So if Sony has a product, if Sony has things that they can sell and make partnerships with for other things to just try to sell more stuff, they're going to try to do that just like any other company should. So, but again, I don't really think this is going to help out Sony because the Apple headset isn't selling well either. They've only sold about 500,000 units since February. Again, it's really high price point. Really high. Now the controls for the PSVR 2, they're great. They work wonderful. The Apple headset, I'm sure, is a wonderful piece of technology. Feels pretty good. It's got some high-tech stuff. But again, it's like, who has thousands of dollars to spend on that? It's a tough sell. And I don't think PlayStation will really be able to match those sales. I don't think they're going to sell 500,000 pairs of Apple headsets that have already sold. I don't think that's going to happen. And VR, in my opinion, its biggest issue is content. There's just not enough games. There's more experiences still than actual games, or games that are kind of dialed back or small or whatever. And what we're wanting is like Ready Player One. Okay, that's the idea for a lot of us, but unfortunately, that's just really not happening. Steam has updated their brand logo, the Steam OS, and its terms. So this is interesting. Usually when they do this, there's something new coming down the pipe. So we have a new Steam OS logo that will be attached to hardware and run and boot into Steam OS when the devices are turned on. So this is part of their update of terms and policies. Also, partners and manufacturers will ship hardware with the Steam image and form, and that's developed by Valve. Physical alterations shouldn't be made to the logo and shouldn't be combined with other branding elements from anyone else. It's just the Steam OS itself. So there's no other data available at this point, but this does indicate that more hardware running on Steam OS is actually coming. And so far we had the Steam Deck and the OLED model. These are actually fairly expensive. I think they start at like $500 or $600 and go up from there. There are also some refurbished versions, which are actually kind of a bit cheaper. You can work them down to like kind of low mid 400s, or maybe like the weakest or the simplest models can be around $300. And this is actually a pretty good deal for refurbished models if you can actually find them. And there's like 100 different little things that they check with the Steam Deck. So yeah, if you're looking to actually get into handhelds but you don't want to pay $1 billion, then yeah, look into actually the refurbished models. And if you're looking just to stream, there's also the Logitech Cloud Stream, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. You'll have to look it up. But that one's, again, is like $300. It's honestly not too expensive for what it is and what it does. But yeah, it is interesting. So yeah, with the Steam Deck, In the OLED model. There is some rumors that maybe this is the Steam machine, which again sold less than 500,000 units, didn't sell very well. They also had the Steam Link, which was actual hardware, but that was canceled not too long after it launched, and it was left as software only. So, but they are building something. Otherwise, they wouldn't be changing all of this. They wouldn't be changing their logo. So something's going on behind the scenes. What I honestly believe it is that it's a Steam Deck 2. In short, I think that's the most likely scenario. Consoles have basically stagnated by the numbers with what we've been able to see with Sony and Xbox. And for a couple of years now, people have been able to buy whatever console they want. And even in some cases at a cheaper price point. It just, especially for the holidays or like Black Friday or something. We saw some of the biggest discounts, but still these discounts are not permanent, which is weird. I mean, we're 5 years into this now, and we still don't have permanent discounts, even on the Nintendo, which has been like 7-8 years now. It's weird. It's weird, as Ziegler would say. And so, yeah, it's kind of why we're seeing all of these console manufacturers go multi-platform as much as they can. Sony is putting more stuff on PC. They're also putting more stuff on their PlayStation Premium for their service, and then Xbox is doing the same, basically getting as much as they can through cloud, through streaming, the Xbox store being able to be streamed with whatever games that you've purchased. They're continuing to add on to that. They still, of course, have Game Pass, and then a lot of different IPs that they have are actually going over to PlayStation. While they are timed exclusive, they're not completely exclusive. Phil Spencer has also said, too, that there's not necessarily any red lines right now with any of their IPs. It's still a case-by-case basis. That itself hasn't changed. And honestly, if there's a better benefit for it to be multi-platform, they're going to do that. And why shouldn't they? People actually want other players to play their games. I have hated the exclusivity because I just want gamers to play whatever they want to play. And that honestly benefits most of the players. If you have an Xbox, if you have a PC, if you have a PlayStation, you can basically play quite a few of the games that Xbox is making. Of course, not everything. Right now, that's Halo, Starfield. There's some others, right? But yeah, there's others that are coming, which is great. And again, this exclusivity, I'm ready for it to ultimately go away, so that instead of exclusives selling the console can work on having features that are better than its competitor, specs that are better than its competitor, services that are better than its competitor, and that can actually work on pushing the sales. Because ultimately, exclusivity isn't really giving you that much at the end of the day to choose a particular platform. And I understand why they've done it for a while, but the game has changed, and it's time to evolve. And unfortunately, if some companies don't do that, I think they're going to have a pretty rough rest of the decade. So ultimately, with the Steam Deck, I don't think they're going to do a console. I don't think they're going to do some other thing to kind of break into another part of the market. They've already massive on PC, right? But with the handheld market heating up, I could absolutely see them doing a Steam Deck too. Let's talk about Suicide Squad. We got it officially this week that Suicide Squad is ending support. Basically, the game will have an offline mode by December 10th, which has happened already. And then we are still going to be getting Season 4, which is Deathstroke, and his campaign. That is going to be January 14th. And, yeah, honestly, with the offline mode, you'll need to start a new profile and then copy your existing one over to the new profile. That's how offline mode is ultimately going to work when these servers switch off someday next year. And it is confirmed that Deathstroke Season 4 will be the last content update. So, this is it. They're just completely ending support. There isn't going to be anything else done for it. It's going to have that offline mode. And basically, the dead game is going to completely die at that point. There's maybe a few people, I saw they had a massive resurgence, if we could call it that, on SteamDB, a couple thousand players, whoop-de-freaking do. But they heavily discounted their game, 90% off. It is pretty insane. for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So, but again, it's like, meh, I don't know. Is it worth $5 to play a game that's not good, that isn't even going to survive really for a while? I don't know. It's everyone's money. To me, it's personally not worth it. But hey, if you'd like to have a look at it and to at least get the story, why not? Have a blast. But yeah, Suicide Squad is officially ending. We do know that Rocksteady is currently working on Hogwarts Legacy Director's Cut. I'm sure that's going to be coming probably next year, because I'm not sure there's really too much they can add to the Hogwarts Legacy game that's already been out for a couple of years now, starting in February of next year. But we do know that they're also working on Hogwarts Legacy too, so it'll be interesting to see what that is. I'm honestly glad that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is failing as a video game, and that it's costing Warner Brothers $200 million. And honestly, too, for Multiverse. Again, it was a bad launch. They kept it off for a year, brought it back. Bad launch. They lost about another $100 million off of that. So they've lost $300 million roughly on like 2 games. And the thing that's frustrating with the Suicide Squad game is that they didn't stay true to the characters. They didn't stay true to what we would expect with the lore that we have of these characters and how they fight and what we'd expect. Like Shark. King Shark basically, shooting guns just like Deathstroke and everybody else, popping purple pimples and repeated boss fights. Like, this is not what we would expect from a AAA game at all. We would maybe expect it from a ripoff, right? Some game that's copying maybe, or some game or studio that's starting out. But like a level of expectations for AAA, this game just did not meet it really on any level whatsoever. It is just so sad that this is what they did. But like the generic gameplay, the enemies were repeated. We had repeated boss fights, not just repeated bosses like in Elden Ring, but like literal copies of boss fights. And it's like, yeah, you just get to do it again for whatever reason. They also messed up the characters. Mr. Freeze is not what we got. The Joker is not what we got. Lawless, what the heck? I mean, it's like, what are they doing? We also had cartoon cutscenes, which again are acceptable on several levels, but AAA has never really had cartoon cutscenes. The first time I really saw it was in Call of Duty Zombies for like some of the earlier Black Ops games, and it was just a little short cartoon story for the beginning of the zombie map. That was it. That was okay. But like for a AAA game to be introducing their seasons like this, I mean, for Pete's sakes, even Concord put in more work for their cutscenes than they did. And that's pretty flippin' bad. It was also bad writing, bad dialogue. The grind to unlock the character was hours of playing just to get the character unlocked, which you'll have to do that for Deathstroke too. Or you could buy him, of course. Money. And so none of these were good for the player base. But they made the game and designed it for the modern audience. And it's just like, man, here's the finger. Like, this is ridiculous. This is not a AAA game that anybody wanted. People were so hyped for this, so excited for this. And then this is what they got. So yeah, I am absolutely glad that Suicide Squad as a video game is failed. It's not just failing, it is absolutely failed. They lost $200 million on this. Thank goodness. And I hope they really understand that they need to stop chasing money. They need to chase the experience that they can provide for the player. And that is what's going to make them money. And I just think they're just absolutely out of their mind. Whoever agreed to all of this stuff, greenlit this stuff. But yeah, following the trend, this has got to be one of the worst failures we've had this decade in the 2020s. Just, again, following the trend, and it's like, what the heck is all this stuff? It's so ridiculous. But yeah, how much I wonder, too, with the microtransactions, with games that have failed, even just this year. How much has been lost with Concord? Again, it was only up for 2 weeks. It's probably not too much that people paid for with microtransactions, but Suicide Squad's another one. But also X Defiant. Like, we have all of these live service games, and it's like you're really not being refunded most of that or any of that, depending on the game. And that is literally just like millions or tens of millions that is just gone, just vaporized. And it's like, what do people have to show for it? You can't go back and really play the game in most cases. You can't transfer your cosmetics over to somewhere else, which is nice about Path of the Exile too. They're actually letting you transfer a lot of your cosmetics and also your stash that you've worked toward already. But man, it's like, what are they doing? What are they doing? This is just wild. Microtransactions, man, they are just a waste of money in most cases. If you can work for them in a game like Space Marine 2, okay, that's great. But good God, when they're, 50, 60 bucks for horse armor, holy frick. It's just unbelievable. Also, too, just FYI, I'm not exactly sure how the patch is going to work for the offline mode for Suicide Squad, if you're curious, and if you do have the game, but I would at least leave the game on your SSD once it is officially taken offline. Otherwise, how do you get the offline patch? I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that. Moving on, let's talk about PalWorld. They've actually made some changes to their game because Nintendo's being a B word. And so with patch 3.11, they've made some of these changes. So summoning PalWorlds now just appear next to you. They're not. There's no PAL sphere that's actually thrown to call them next to you into the game. That was one of the patent issues that freaking Nintendo had. And so that's not an issue anymore, which is great. Also, while aiming, there's a physical reticule now. So again, they're working around some of these patent issues. And Nintendo didn't get their IP, Nintendo couldn't get them on the IP itself. Like, oh, hey, these are like Pokemon, right? Like that's Electrobuzz and whatever and Pikachu. They couldn't get them on that. So now they've tried on making some adjustments to these 3 patents and saying, oh, well, these are patents that we have in our video games and they can't use that. And it's not the fines. The fines are nothing, right? It's basically $60,000, which isn't very much at all. But the thing is the injunctions that if granted with the U.S. courts or whatever, that basically Nintendo would be able to have injunctions against PalWorld, the video game. And of course, Pocket Pair doesn't want them to be able to do that. I mentioned it probably 4 weeks ago, talking about, hey, why doesn't PalWorld just make some of the changes? It'd be a little janky, be a little weird, but then they can just keep their game going. They can literally patch the issues, the legal issues out of their game and keep Nintendo at bay. And yeah, screw them. I mean, they haven't been innovating any of their Pokemon IP forever. And they don't deserve to have players not have any competition. Again, monopolies, I believe, are bad. Because, if we take Nintendo as an example, they're not trying to improve the player experience. They're not trying to make better games. Some of their open world games have been absolute ass. And it's like they need to really, it's not player first, it's company first. And that is what they've continued to do. And they've got everybody so scared that people don't even want to have Nintendo anything, even on their YouTube channel, because of copyright strikes and taking down stuff and going to court. I mean, it's just, they are just out to get people instead of actually making good games that people want to buy. And so when the only option for Pokemon is Pokemon, well, it kind of sucks. You don't have an option. But now that we have PalWorld, I hope Pocket Pair literally reams their nuts through the cracker, man, and absolutely wins on this, because we need that competition to actually have more. I would love for Monster Hunter to get bigger. With some more of these types of features or whatever, if they wanted to include them, or even just make them available to other publishers and developers, I think would be great. I'd love to see Monster Rancher come back as a video game. Holy cow, we haven't had one of those in forever. But yeah, it'd be nice to have some competition back in the market, because again, we could get more PAL Worlds. And playing the game man, it's cool. And they're having another patch right now where they're adding a whole nother island, which I think is bigger than the entirety of the launch game, which was earlier, or the launch of their beta earlier this year. Like, huge, huge other island to explore with your buddies and pals, more bosses, more challenges, more Pokemon. So yeah, more pals. Excuse me, and it's cool with what they're doing. I honestly want to go back to it at some point and play it again just to see what they've done. But yeah, if Pocket Pair wins this too could really open the gates for more third party to gain inspiration from other Nintendo IPs. Because again, this is not just about Pokemon. This is also like Legend of Zelda and Donkey Kong and whatever other IPs they actually have. So Nintendo, this is why Nintendo is working so hard from having the dam break, but I'm not sure they can do it this time. Because yeah, if PalWorld is available to stay alive, I guarantee you in 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're going to start seeing some more Nintendo-inspired games. I think it'll be very interesting. Let's talk about Best Buy, which I forgot to take a look yesterday at actually what the deal was. Yeah, I'm trying to post these online on my YouTube channel so that you guys can see it in the communities tab. But Best Buy is basically doing 12 days of gaming, play off of the 12 days of Christmas, and each one is a gaming deal. It started on Monday. It runs from the 12th, it runs from the 9th through the 20th. And the link is down below. The deals are only for 24 hours for that day. But some of them are pretty good because these are like deep discounts. It's not just like 10 or 20% off. It's like half, some of them. So, yeah, take a look. If you're interested, or there's maybe some games that you could be interested in, I would honestly take a look for Best Buy with what they're doing. Moving on. Let's see. If you want a handheld gaming device, oh yeah, we talked about the refurbished stuff already. There you go. Oh yeah, I will say one thing with the refurbished stuff. The refurbished devices are only available with USA, UK, Canada, and Europe. Some countries in Europe, anyway, like the European Union. So it's only available right there. But of course, if it becomes more successful, they'll expand that because, of course, every company wants to make more money, and that'll be great. So let's talk about Amazon Prime. They're actually giving away 10 games in line with Secret Level, which is kind of cool. These are all just for Prime members only, and they're giving them away via GOG on PC. So this is Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Mega Man 11, Neverwinter Nights, Outer Worlds, Warhammer 40k Space Marine, and Warhammer 40k Dawn of War. Dawn of War is a great one. I love that one. And then, too, if you want to play the original Space Marine, there you go. It's available for you. So these are actually available now. Next, let's talk about the classic COD titles, which is kind of interesting. They're appearing on the Microsoft PC Store. Well, I'm a console player. I don't really care. Well, now, hold on. There's actually a reason why I'm bringing this up. You can now buy United Offensive, Call of Duty 2, and Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare through the storefront. And when this happens, this tends to happen before these games actually go on Game Pass. This happened with the Spyro Reignited trilogy. This also has happened with some of the Crash Bandicoot games, including the trilogy itself. And so that's kind of cool. I'm hoping the trend stays the same. It's not a guaranteed yet, but hopefully that keeps up. Let's talk about Fortnite. It is still going strong, and I kind of want to take a look at these different types of games that they're making within Fortnite because they are interesting. We're getting a first-person shooter. I forget exactly what the name is, but not third person, all first person, right? You have maps, you have maybe certain game modes, of course, that they'll add. They're just branching out into Call of Duty or Siege or whatever the next big thing is, and keeping new content coming, which is great. This is, again, what these live service games need. And as the player base ages, well, they ain't that good no more. And so they need something else to play. So they've added the Lego stuff. We've already had that. That was supposed to be temporary, by the way, but now that's actually permanent. And now they're adding something else related to Lego. They're basically doing like a Sims 4 like game or mode, and this is called Brick Life. And I think this actually comes out this weekend, or it's coming out very, very soon. But yeah, these modes are coming, and basically they're continuing to expand Fortnite. And in a way, it kind of makes Fortnite more of like a hub or like a launcher of like, hey, do you want to play like original Fortnite, right, with the Battle Royale, or do you want to play the first-person shooter mode, or do you just want to build and create stuff with Lego, or do you want to go into Brick Life and kind of, I don't know, hang out and grow there or whatever? Yeah, I'm kind of curious exactly how that all works, but like Fortnite is not just Fortnite anymore. It's definitely branching out into other stuff, and it's not like it's a expansion. It's just it's an entirely different game going in a different direction, still under the umbrella of Fortnite. So I just think that's very, very interesting. And they have a massive consumer base. It's tens of millions of players every month. And yeah, why not? Why not? Why not just keep it going, baby? Keep expanding stuff and whatever. I think it's great. So Epic understands that their audience is aging. And I wonder, too, if they're going to keep pushing this for other platforms. Or maybe all of the platforms. Are they going to make sure that some of this, too, can work on like the handheld space as that goes? Are they going to allow it to be streamed, like for Xbox or for Game Pass or something? I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of these little teeny changes. Well, some not so little, but like the gaming industry is definitely changing, and I'm trying to keep up with it so that I can inform you guys. But yeah, Fortnite, you'll be seeing that in the future when gaming stuff slows down, because I definitely want to try it out and see what it looks like. Moving on, Henry Cavill has now confirmed the Warhammer 40K live action TV show. I'm actually really excited for this. We were kind of going back and forth on whether this was really going to be a thing or not, and not all adaptations of great. In my opinion, a lot of adaptations have been trash, but some have been good, which is wonderful. Okay, Lion reminded me of that, like The Last of Us, like the Fallout TV show. Also, there was Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and then like the adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is great. But we've also had some bad ones, like Halo, like the Horizon show that was canceled. Splinter Cell movie we found out was canceled too, unfortunately. That could have been good, could have been bad. We're not entirely sure. We know we're also getting a Harry Potter show where the writer basically hasn't read the books. So hey, that's wonderful. And so yeah, there's good and bad with this, of course. But yeah, we'll have to see how good this is. Now, we did get kind of a snapshot of what it could look like. The secret level came out for Netflix. I think it's Netflix. So you can go ahead and watch that now, actually. Or no, it's on Amazon. Man, it's hard to keep track of what's on what. Anyway, look it up. And secret level is actually pretty good. If you're a gamer guy and you know the lore for some of these different IPs, it's kind of fun to watch. So I want to watch it myself. But I took a look at the Angry Joe review of Secret Level, and they watched all of the little teeny mini movies, and they were like, most of these are really, really good and really fun to watch, and just they had a blast with most of it. So they said there were a few in there that were definitely a letdown, didn't really maybe dragged on too long, didn't feel like they needed to be in there, but the majority of them are great, especially Armored Core and like Warhammer 40K. So I definitely want to see it. And yeah, that'll be great. Maybe that'll actually be coming sooner rather than later as an adaptation. As I try to do the adaptations as well on the channel. But yeah, I think it's great that Henry Cavill is announcing that this has been given the green light. He's a huge Warhammer 40K fan, and he's going to be starring in it, and supposedly also going to be an executive director. So he's going to have some influence and some pull, and hopefully he has a lot of pull. Being a fan, knowing the lore, and I mean, he is like deep. He is deep into this stuff. Though he's never also done this before. So, being a director, I mean. He's been an actor, of course, right? And people generally like whatever he's acting in. And he is a good actor. But yeah, I hope this is just done well. Now, this is, of course, under Amazon, I believe. And, well, they've boogered up a few other IPs. Hopefully this doesn't happen with the live action. Hopefully it stays true to the lore, of course. and it's violent and dark, because that is the whole point of 40K. Okay, like there's just a style and a perspective that they need to have. Otherwise, it's going to turn out maybe kind of like the Halo TV series, and I do not want that flippin' version of Warhammer 40K. No, thank you. So we'll have to see. I'm going to keep up with this as I have been, and I will let you guys know in the future how the progress is going and when it launches. Next, let's talk about Kingdom Deliverance 2. The date has been moved up. This is now going to be February 4th. So they're going to be the first ones in February to come right out of the gate. This is a $70 game. That is the MSRP. And yeah, there are a ton of games launching. So we have Origins right at the end of January. We also have Warside, which I'm going to buy that one. I'm actually excited because that's like Advanced Wars as a non-Advanced Wars game. and that's another Nintendo IP. And I hope Nintendo just doesn't pay attention. That would be great. So that game can just be out there. But yeah, February is going to be packed. So we're having Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, right? We're also having Civilization 7's Assassin's Creed Shadows, Like a Dragon Hawaii, Monster Hunter Wilds, Avowed, and the Tomb Raider Remastered Volume 2 collection. So maybe not everyone's excited for Tomb Raider, but I am, so that's why it's in there. But yeah, Angry Joe Show, all three of them actually played a piece of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the same section. But yeah, they played the game last week, and they said it's really, really good. There's different ways to do things. There's different decisions that you can make that actually affect the game. You can play the good, the bad, or the mediocre guy, or anywhere in between. But yeah, all three did things and played things differently with what they wanted to do with the game piece that they had available to them. And they said too that ultimately, if you're frustrated with Velguard, you're probably really going to like this game. Which is wonderful news. And so yeah, I think Kingdom Deliverance 2 is actually going to do pretty well. But again, there are a lot of other games coming in February, and it's just going to be tough. This is probably the busiest February we've ever had with AAA and AA games. It's pretty insane. Yeah, so that's exciting. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That one should be pretty good. Next, let's talk about the Xbox app. And so on PC, it's actually been updated as of this week. Just like the Xbox app for Android, that had a temporary stay on it, unfortunately, through Google. Thanks to Google. The U.S. courts have put the stay on it, so they can't launch it just yet. But it is temporary. It will eventually come out. But they have made the changes with the Xbox app to PC. And what this does is that it allows PC gamers an additional access to 400 games that they can purchase with Xbox features outside of Game Pass. Basically, that's cloud, right? That's basically what they're getting at. So you can make these purchases through the Xbox app. I'll just call it X app for now. And now you have Game Pass, xCloud, and it's also a store, just like Steam. And this is all just culminated together. And now you also have like cross saves that you can have. Like everything is just coming together for Xbox as a powerhouse. Now, granted, I don't like how this is going to push the digitization further than it already is as physical disappears. But eventually that is coming anyway. And I don't think we can stop that. I just think it sucks. But it does put everything just under one banner for the Xbox app on PC. And this is also how it'll be when it comes out on Android. And so eventually, your handheld, your Android, your Steam, your PC, your console, like this is all going to be coming under all of these different platforms where you can have streaming for Game Pass, and for your purchases on the store outside of Game Pass, you're going to have access to Game Pass if you want it. You're going to have cross saves if you want it. Like, you're going to be getting all of this stuff. And this is also first-party and third-party games. And so, yeah, Xbox is really wanting to be able to play, give you how you want to play, where you want to play, and when you want to play. And just make everything as accessible as possible. It is possible they could use that against players in the future of, money, 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 pay up every month. But I do think this is cool because this is, at least for right now, a player-first type of expansion to their service. So this does include mobile. This does include PC games and also Xbox console games. This is probably also eventually going to include PlayStation 4 and PS5 games too, where the devs have publishing rights, like Death Stranding. Because right now, Death Stranding, even though it was supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive, it also was made by an exclusive PlayStation engine. Well, that's available to actually buy right now on Xbox. And that's huge. Also, with MLB The Show for Major League Baseball, it's the same deal. That used to be completely an exclusive for PlayStation, but now it's also on Xbox. So Sony is starting to maybe maintain their first-party exclusives, but they are allowing to sell the rights or give control of the publishing rights to the actual developers and to some of these other third-party publishers. And then what they're doing is, okay, since we have the rights, well, we're going to go multi-platform. So I think that's very interesting because while Sony can stand there and still say that they're, first-party exclusives, it's like, well, that's not entirely accurate because you're selling the publishing rights and allowing them to put their game on whatever platforms they want. And of course, they're going to go multi-plat because they want to be able to make as much money as possible. And if it's a good game, yeah, why shouldn't they? Absolutely. And so, yeah, remember this is Xbox's goal to have the entire Xbox store also be streamable outside of Game Pass. So if you want to have Game Pass, that's great. But if you also want to be able to stream all of your games on your Xbox store library, whether on PC, mobile, handheld, or console, go for it. That is ultimately their goal. Also, the Xbox app, as I said before, allows Game Pass, streaming, and access to the store to buy your games anywhere. So yeah, this Xbox app, when it fully releases and launches on everything, is going to be pretty insane because they're taking the Steam store. And see, I think too, when publishers start figuring this out, which I think Square Enix already did, but when other publishers, third-party publishers, start figuring this out with what Xbox is doing, it's like, they're making it cheaper, they're making it more accessible, and they're giving more features to their player base. I want my game to be on Game Pass. I want my game to be on the Xbox ecosystem. Because there are so many ways to access it, I'm probably going to make more money if it's on Xbox. In some degree, whether that's Xbox PC, Game Pass, cloud saves, or the store, whatever, right? Whatever it is. But I think some of the publishers are actually figuring this out. And I think Sony is too. And that's why they're making some of these changes that they're already making. Like the PS Portal being able to stream. Like some of the games that are first party coming day and date to PC or coming within 12 or 13 months. That's fast. Like Spider-Man 2. It's pretty crazy. So Sony is making some of these changes too, or too with just giving the publishing rights. Here you go. Yeah, put it on wherever you want. Oh, guess what? It's going on Xbox. It's going on PC. It's not an exclusive anymore. And yeah, the whole console war is breaking down, and I love it because us as gamers can just play the games we want to play on whatever we have, and we don't have to be behind a paywall to play some of these games, and I love that. I do have a video that actually works on explaining more of this in depth. If you're interested, this was one of the States of Gaming that I did, I think, a couple of months ago, and so I will link that down in the description. Moving on. The director of Assassin's Creed Shadows says that there's a new canon mode as in like what's canon for like Star Wars or for, in this case, Assassin's Creed. So this is very interesting because the mode, when turned on, will make decisions for you in the game. It provides a choice-free experience when branches for decisions appear in the game. Dumont, the director, references big decisions in Cyberpunk 2077 and also Metro 2033 that weigh heavily on him as a player. And, quote, sometimes it's just nice to lie back, end quote, and just let the game play out, right? And so, while I wouldn't call Assassin's Creed Shadows, Cyberpunk, or Metro RPGs, they're more adventure open world games. The whole point of an RPG is to make decisions and to have consequences of those, good and bad. Like, I'm not exactly sure who this is for or who even asked for this. I also feel like younger generations, to a point, they get less and less able to make decisions already in life. And now if we're kind of allowing access, which again, if they want to, so be it. But there's something to be said. It's like if you can't make decisions in a video game or you feel stress there that keeps you up at night, how the heck are you going to make decisions in the real world? How are you going to take control of your life? And now we're having a game mode where the game can basically just play itself, make those decisions for you. Imagine if Mass Effect was like that. Dude, what the frick? I mean, you would destroy the IP. It wouldn't be Mass Effect anymore. What if you did that for, Elder Scrolls Oblivion or Skyrim? Or you did that for the Fallout games? Or Bioshock? I mean, yeah. They wouldn't be those games anymore. They would be totally different. So this is not a permanent change. This is just an option that you can turn on. So I'm very glad for that, and I hope it stays that way. I also think, too, why are they adding more things to the game, to Assassin's Creed Shadows, when the original plan was just to polish the game for another 3 months? It's like you're adding more when you're just supposed to polish when you already know it's not ready, when your plan initially, just like with Star Wars Outlaws and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, is just to fix the game post-launch. And now realizing with how Star Wars Outlaws did, it's like you can't do that anymore. AAA for $70 better be freaking amazing. And I agree with that. It better be amazing. Otherwise, why am I paying $70 for a broken game? I shouldn't be. It's stupid. Get with the fucking program. Excuse my language. But yeah, now they're adding these things that's taking time away and potentially even adding more bugs to the game. So, man, whether I play it or not, I am curious how Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be. Because, and I'll try to remember to link this down below too, I just did another State of Gaming on the worst company of the year for 2024. And it's Ubisoft. And it's like, I go through some of their financials and by golly, if they have another bad 6 months, if they have another failed release with Assassin's Creed Shadows, that is going to be really bad for them. They're going to go bankrupt. I'm serious. That is a potential reality at this point in the next 6 months. June, July of next year. They'd have to sell. They'd have to do something. Because, at the end of the day, the money has to be there. So, and this doesn't bode well. If the game basically, and two, the whole thing surrounding Shadows right now, if there's anything semi-big that's wrong with the game, players aren't going to pay full MSRP. They aren't going to pay $70. They aren't going to pay $100 or $110, whatever, and the game isn't going to sell well. And then that is really bad for Ubisoft. So I do appreciate they are adding more features. They are trying to think of ways to give more options to players on how they want to play the game. And I think overall that's fine. But to have a coasting mode through the game is not the type of mode I was thinking of. I'd rather have co-op. While that would definitely probably be more challenging to, of course, build that and take longer, it would be a mode that I think would be more beneficial. You have two characters, first time ever in Assassin's Creed, right? For this type of story, you have two characters that are both equally important that you can both play. Why not just create a co-op mode? That'd be great. We had co-op Assassin's Creed games. They were pretty successful. Syndicate, Brotherhood, and I think there was another one. But that'd be kind of cool to make that available. And if, again, the game's good, a lot of people are going to be playing it then. More than if it's bad anyway. And co-op might actually help boost sales. At least for some people. So, yeah, we'll have to see how Assassin's Creed is. Because, man, Ubisoft just keeps making the wrong decision. And it's not just them. It's a lot of AAA. Like, the gaming industry is just garbage in a lot of cases. And that's why we call the channel Gaming Garbage. I'm trying to keep up with the industry in a multifaceted way to give you the best overview on the channel of what the gaming industry is like in a year. And that's why I have all the different things that I do on my channel. It is kind of a lot to do. I will say it is busy. It gets hard to keep up with it sometimes with what else is going on in my life. But again, I think a good, broad, well-rounded overview of the gaming industry is a good perspective to have. And it's one I want to share with you guys. So thanks for listening. You can always find me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also find me over at Discord, Twitter X, and also over on Twitch. You can go ahead and follow Twitch if you want to see everything there first. Basically, I do all of the streams through Twitch. I then take the VOD files, gussy them up, make them a little nicer, and then put them over at YouTube with thumbnails and descriptions and everything else. And so it kind of depends on just where you want to see it, or sub to both. And it doesn't matter to me. And if you honestly like the content, please like, share, and sub. Bell notification. But yeah, especially share with other people. It's really you guys that are going to make the channel go and move forward and get out there to more people. And, I'm just providing the content. I'm doing the best that I can on my end right now. There, of course, be some other things I would love to do in the future. Have higher production quality for some of my stuff, but I'm just able to do what I can do right now. And some people appreciate that. And if you want to help grow the audience, do your part. I appreciate it. Thank you. And with that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing well. Take time, too, to just think about Christmas. Think about what it means. Think about where your life is and if it's valuable. If you feel like you're where you want to be, or maybe, too, you just feel like it's just kind of meh. You're just kind of missing something. And so I encourage you to actually go to a Christmas service. Go to a church. And just have a curiosity. Just be open-minded. And two, if you don't want to, that's okay. At least take time to focus on relationships. Because sometimes at the end of the day, family's all you have as you age. And maybe your relationships aren't perfect. My relationships and my family aren't perfect. But I am understanding that they're also even more important than I thought they would be. So, yeah, take time to be there. Be present. Engage. And with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.